When I was 17, I threw a crazy rager and then got robbed 1 week later.
When I was 17, I used to borrow cars from the lot where I worked at.
When I was 17, I wasn't even allowed into the club that I was supposed to be DJing at that night.
When I was 17, I was like the laziest 17-year-old ever.
When I was 17, I was pushing carts at a grocery store like a G.
Spitfire MC MGK made headlines in 2009 as the first white rapper to ever win on the Apollo stage. In 2012, the Cleveland lyricist made XXL's freshman class, and after a succession of popular mixtapes, Kels finally dropped his debut album, Lace Up, in stores now.
I'm a wild boy, I'm a wild boy, I'm a wild boy, I'm a wild boy.
You know who it is, it's me.
Bronx-born beatmaker Swizz Beatz got his start as a DJ before staking his claim as one of music's most prolific producers. He's become the go-to guru.
So your Duncan Hines sit relevant. Woo!
These days, Pusha is back in the studio working on his first solo LP, slated for release later this year. But who are MGK, Pusha T, and Swizz Beatz before their names were on everyone's lips? Before they were becoming a wild boy, grinding, and producing mega hits? You may have more in common with them than you think. So let's find out what their lives were like on MTV2 Presents When I Was 17.
When I was 17, I was finding myself, AKA I was lame.
I'm not gonna lie, he wasn't cool at all. He just knew how to rap real good.
I was bouncing between like the preppy American Eagle look, which was hot in the hood at that time, and then the big Rocawear winter coat phase. And then somewhere in between that, I had watched the movie American Gangster, and like I like had it in my head. I was like, if I dress like that, then maybe I'm gonna have the same type of life. And I woke up the next morning and I had borrowed my manager his fur coat and like put on this suit and went to school. I was trying to look like Denzel Washington, but it's like, look at me, I look nothing like Denzel Washington.
His swag was off. It was down. But, I mean, like, I ain't gonna just leave him out there. All our swag was down.
When I was 17, I worked at this airbrush spot. Like, if a relative died or something like that, you would come get, like, a RIP T-shirt, or if one of your boys got locked up, you get a free so-and-so T-shirt. And I basically would just work there for free because the guy was airbrushing for, like, a bunch of celebrities, and I wanted him to be my manager.
It was turned up. The grind was turned up.
It was the coolest spot to come to when you came in town, because at that time, airbrushing was huge in the hip-hop community, so everyone from, like, Paul Wall coming in, Jadakiss, all these people, like, they would always come through the shop. And so, as a rapper, I got to meet these other rappers. And, I would always spit for them and, kind of just let them know I was a problem.
When I was 17, I was a musical kid.
I was 17. My dad went out of town on a job interview, and I decided to throw a house party. It was going really good for the first couple hours. I was becoming the man. I had like one of those 1999 like Spencer's color changing lights. I set up like a corny little karaoke microphone. It was like emceeing the whole thing, like, all the girls get over here and grind on the guy. And everyone was having a great time, but then I got a call. My dad was like, "Are you having a party?" And I was like, "No, why would I ever do that?" And I hung up the phone, and he calls back. He's like, "So-and-so's mom is there right now in the party." And I went downstairs, and like, here's this giant beer can pyramid, and like, there's the mom, and she was just looking at me like.
I would have never threw a house party at his dad's house, because he don't play that.
And then it got even worse because a week later, my house ended up getting robbed. But it was only my stuff. They left all my dad's stuff. They took everything, like computers, keyboards, on like PlayStation, all this stuff, and it just disappeared. Probably one of my friends from high school. This is why I was unpopular in high school, because the friends I did have were so like crooked anyway. And, obviously if the house got robbed, I called the cops. They came and they walked upstairs, and it was all like, oh, we're gonna try to figure this out. But I remember I took some sign from an old neighborhood we lived in, and it said something about like police. I had put duct tape all over it and wrote like, F the police, pigs, and all this stuff. They saw the sign and turned around and were like, "Yeah, well, we've done about all we can do here." And they ended up telling my dad, like, they figured that it had something to do with me. To this day, my dad 100% thinks I robbed my own house. And I'm like, yo, they took all my stuff. They left all your
It's time for your first When I Was 17 pop quiz. Where did Swiss Beats sell his mixtapes when he was 17? Was it in a barbershop, a train station, or a local college campus? Find out when MTV2 presents When I Was 17 returns. Let's take a listen to the music MGK, Pusha T, and Swiss Beats were checking out when they were 17. In 2007, Midwest native MGK headed south for hip-hop.
When I was 17, I was listening to like the Gucci Mane mixtapes, Young Jeezy mixtapes. So I would always listen to those guys.
Rewind to 1994 when Pusha had an Illmatic MC in heavy rotation.
When I was 17,
That was my hustle right there.
All right, MGK fans, try this pop quiz. What artist did MGK listen to after breaking up with his girlfriend when he was 17? Was it Tank, Chris Brown, or D'Angelo? Get the answer when MTV2 presents When I Was 17 returns.
Guy Code is saving one guy at a time by giving away a chance to win a date with Melanie Iglesias.
Wonder what MGK and Pusha T were changing the channel to when they were 17? Let's find out. In 2007, MGK was a fan of sitcoms from the 90s and music television.
When I was 17, I was still watching like reruns of Fresh Prince, Heavy. And I used to always want to be like Will Smith.
Time to get busy right now, please.
I would like go home and try and watch TRL.
It's good to be here. It is good to see you. Man, it's like a bittersweet moment.
And it kind of fizzled out, but I was leaning toward the whole like music generation thing.
Rewind to 1994 when Pusha took Q.
When I was 17, I had this girlfriend, and we were together for a while, and like, it was like this long distance thing, and I had gone to visit her one time, and this person was outside of her house, and he was like, hey, aren't you so-and-so's ex-boyfriend? I was like, ex-boyfriend, what are you talking about? I'm still a boyfriend. She was like, nah, well, so-and-so's in the house right now. And I my face just like flushed red, and I ran in the house. And it was funny because I went to her room, and her bed's usually right there, and it was moved in a different place. I didn't see it. I didn't really pay attention at that time. I just looked at it. I didn't see anything. And I went to her little brother. I picked up her little brother, like 8 years old, little redhead kid, and I was like, where is she at? Where is she at? And he was like, oh. And I went back to the room, and the bed was over here, and she was like sleeping with the dude, and like she made it no point to like, get up and put clothes on. She just stayed there and chilled there.
It didn't last long. It just didn't last long.
No, for real, like, this is like that's the girl I lost my virginity to, you know what I'm saying? I walked into her another dude. I was thinking about like tetherball in the guy's face, and I was like, screw it, but that was where like my love for the Chris Brown Say Goodbye song came from. And I remember all that because I was going through my CDs one time. You remember like when CD books were popular? And I had gone to the CD book and I was like, oh, what's this? And it said the girl's name and it said so-and-so's mix. And I played it and it was just one song and it happened to be the Say Goodbye song by Chris Brown. And I was like, this is so corny.
When I was 17, I started off.
When I was 17, I had linked up on a tour with Big Sean. And this is like before Big Sean was Big Sean. He was still like Lil Sean to the rest of the world. And like, the same with us. Definitely no one knew who Machine Gun Kelly was.
That was actually like, at the beginning, full grind mode.
We were all stoked to go on this tour because it was kind of like our first tour. So it was like a Midwest run. I remember one show, it was in like Cincinnati. I think it was like probably less than like 15 people. You could see everyone in the crowd, 100%. It was so scarce you probably could have left knowing like their government name and their middle name too. I remember this venue is when you go in there, the crowd has to see you because the stairs to the backstage are actually on the stage. It was just funny just trying to walk in and like all of us have our hoods up and like trying to just like keep it undercover, but it's like for what, man? It's like, it wasn't like, as soon as people saw us, people were like erupting, like, oh, yeah. And it was this huge crowd. It was more like, oh, yeah, we see you. Can't wait. Hurry up. I remember us and Sean would just laugh like all the time, like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. We had ended up seeing each other later on the red carpet at the VMAs, and we were just chopping it about that time. So when I was a young man, me and Big Sean toured the world and no one knew.
When they were 17, MGK caught his girlfriend in a dirty deed, Pusha took an illegal excursion, and Swiss brokered deals at the barbershop. What will you say you did when you were 17?